Guest article by Robert Dawson.
Dating back 389,000 years ago, the real ancient aliens, the extraterrestrial long skulls, settled on Earth and left evidence of their influence in ancient Egypt and the Americas, contained within the hundreds of contact reports between Billy Meier and the Plejarens is information about Earthman's true history on the planet and its extraterrestrial influences. This series of articles aims to show the abundance of archaeological evidence that has managed to survive, which substantiates and authenticates that information, which also fills in missing historical gaps and puzzling mystery. Parts 1-2 will focus on a comparison of ancient America and ancient Egypt, who share huge cultural parallels in religion, astronomy, architecture, and the arts, and how that relates to the new historical information provided in the contact notes.
From Contact Report 710.
With this I can say that the Earth foreigners, who are generally simply called extraterrestrials or aliens by the Earthlings, have in fact been around for a long time. They stayed here and worked in many ways, as did their distant descendants, but they have also been active on Earth for centuries and millennia up to the present day, flying around and in and out of the Earth, and are observed again and again around the world by the Earthlings, whereby the American continent is of particular importance in this respect. Their early ancestors worked in many different ways on Earth and also in various countries in Asia, North Africa, and partly in Europe, but mainly in the early days in the North African country, which in later times was called Kemet, and then finally in later times Egypt, after which this name has been preserved until today. Your father Sverhoff taught me during a leap in time into the past to the land there where the Earth foreigners ruled at that time, whom he called long skulls, and whom I have seen myself that they had been on Earth for thousands of years. Because in contrast to the round skulls of the human beings of the Earth, they had skulls that were long and thickly protruding towards the back. They stood out unmistakably from the human beings of Earth, just as other Earth foreigners did around the world.
Excerpt from Contact Report 721.
When the last Plejaren's immigration community came to Earth round 13,500 years ago, it happened in a completely secret way, because since 389,000 years earlier other extraterrestrials had come to Earth and had settled far and wide on all continents, above all, the long-skulled ones. In ancient Egypt in particular, they rose to positions of power, waged wars, and subjugated tribes of peoples.
The deserted city of Teotihuacan was discovered by the Aztecs in the 14th century, and named it Teotihuacan, meaning the place where the gods were created, when it had already been abandoned for centuries. Current belief is that Teotihuacan was a multi-ethnic site, being home to 4 distinct groups of people. One of the big mysteries about Teotihuacan is why nobody has ever discovered burial places for the leaders of these ancient people. Perhaps the obvious location for a tomb would be inside the pyramids as per the Egyptians, but the 2 major pyramids at Teotihuacan are sealed off with no entrances.
From Contact Report 55.
Quetzalcoatl had been, in Earth terms, a very high officer or a high supervisor of an extraterrestrial group, which was active in the region you today call Egypt. But he was very knowledgeable and wise, and thus was often assigned special missions, of which one brought him to South America, where he became venerated as a god by the Aztecs. Since he owned a small ship, this impression of the Aztec people was strengthened, but this was not his intention.
Right, an Olmec deity is portrayed in this sculpture piece. Musu Nacional de Antropologia, the fiery flying serpent, is a creature mentioned in the book of Isaiah in the Bible. The term translated as fiery serpent, Seraph, appears elsewhere in the book of Isaiah to signify the Seraphim, the singular form of which is also Seraph. And the Lord sent fiery serpents Hanakashim Hazarapim among the people, and they bit the people. and much people of Israel died. A series of canals brought the water, trapped underground, to the areas where it was needed. Anything left was stored in surface reservoirs. To help keep it moving, chimneys were excavated above the canals in the shape of corkscrewing funnels. These funnels let wind into the canals, which forced the water through the system. Not only did the builders of the puquias need a deep understanding of the geology of the area and annual variations in water availability, but maintaining the canals was a technical challenge as they spread across tectonic fault. That meant a regular, dependable water supply for centuries. The quality of construction was so good that some of the puquias still function today. The origin of the puquias has remained a mystery to researchers. Source: Ancient Nazca World New Insights from Science and Archaeology, Lhasa Panara, 2017. According to Contact Report 69, extraterrestrials had settled there and were most likely responsible for their construction.
Similar events took place in the areas you call Pisco, Nazca and Sacsayhuaman, because the same giants had settled there. Thus many statues and other structures were created.
Article by Robert Dawson.